So at the center of this story is Melanie Barker. She had a difficult life and a lonely death. Back in February, she became acutely ill in her long-term care home, and she died within days, alone. The thing is, her children and her sister tell us no one told them until March. So our first stop is her sister, Donna Barker.
There's not one thing that they can say to me that will justify her dying alone and her being put in the morgue for a month without any family. I had given them my number when I was down there, that if anything needed to be, like anything, I'm her sister, please contact me. But come on, people, she's dying. Contact one of us, you know?
Melanie Barker, mother of 5, spent more than a decade in long-term care because of a debilitating physical illness. Barker's family didn't visit very often, but they say they loved her. And there were periods of estrangement as they all worked through serious intergenerational trauma.
We were very badly abused as children, and both physically, emotionally, sexually. We never knew about each other's situation until after my father died, and that's when we started talking about it. So our whole upbringing was basically very volatile. So, yeah.
Have you thought about what you would have said to her?
I would have held her. I would have held her so tight and just let her know that she's loved, no matter what life did to us, no matter how bad our life was, and the things we had to do to survive in our own ways, that she was loved.
So what happened? Why didn't the care home contact the family? This is the long-term care home where Melanie Barker lived and died. So they won't do an on-camera interview. So what I'm doing is I'm emailing them a list of questions, and I'm also sending questions to the Public Guardian and Trustee's office. It was overseeing Melanie Barker's property and also her care decisions. So what long-term care experts have told us is that both the long-term care home and the Public Guardian and Trustee's office should have had family contact information on file, and they should have been keeping it up to date. So, and sent.
Our next stop is to pick up Melanie's half-sister. Now, she's been helping her niece try to get answers. This family's been through so much that they've never actually met in person before.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
This is the first time you're going to meet Shelley in person.
So, is that crazy?
So what's that like for you?
It's exciting. Like I'm really happy.
I wonder what your mother would have thought of you guys meeting today like this.
Mom would have liked that. She was a little bit wild and crazy, though.
They have some notes in her recreation and leisure profile. It talks about the fact that she got a sociology degree, that sort of thing. Right?
Yeah.
Smart woman.
Fucking brilliant.
She's a very, very intelligent woman.
Mm-hmm. She graduated high school when she was 15, and then she was supposed to go to college, and then she got married to my dad.
But she found her way back to education,
Yeah.
to pursue that, and very honorable to do that. Not easy.
Melanie Barker may have been smart, but she could also be cruel.
It was her way or the highway, and she was always right, and she wasn't nice. But then there's other things, like she took me to see Les Miserables when I was a kid, and she took me to see the Phantom of the Opera, and always music and always just something to distract herself from what she'd been through, right? Regardless, right? Of whether or not I'd been there for the last few years, I was dealing with my own trauma and drug use and everything, and I've just gotten clean, so I'm trying to put my life back together. And so, no, I didn't go and see her, and I should have. 100,000% I should have gone to see her, because regardless of anything she did, nothing was that bad that she deserved to die alone like that.
So, just to go through those dates again, February 9th, 2022, That's when we know, again, she's palliative.
Yeah.
She's aspirated, and then she dies February 12th. I mean, there's a couple of days in there. There's a window for everyone to be notified.
Yeah.
Right?
I would have expected a call would have gone to her children immediately, so they could have their opportunity to make peace with their mom. They deserve that. If they wanted to take it, perfect. If they didn't, perfect. But they missed out on that opportunity. But then it carries on, right? She passes. No one's reaching out. Then they send her to a morgue, and then she's forgotten again.
But how did that happen? Especially since Melanie Barker's long-term care records list 2 names of family members. In fact, Shelley's name and number appear on the chart. And it turns out she's pretty easy to find online. Dr. Samir Sinha is a Canadian leader in geriatrics, palliative, and long-term care.
What do you think of this case?
It doesn't sound like the Public Guardian and Trustee's office here was operating to the level that we expect it to be. It doesn't sound like the home did the due diligence that they needed to be doing. And hey, you know, this family, complicated, I get it. That's their right to be complicated. It's their right to have complex family dynamics. But in this case, it seems like somehow there was information on the chart of family members willing to be contacted. It's really hard to bring closure to the family when from their standpoint, we were calling, we were reaching out. And I think that only brings added pain to this family because this was a tragedy of errors, really more than anything.
This shouldn't have happened. It makes me so angry to think that she died alone and that her body sat in the morgue for a month. Oh. There's no justification for that.
Okay, it took a while, but I have answers to some, but definitely not all of our questions.
Okay, what have you got?
All right, so both the Public Guardian Trustee's office and the long-term care home said that they couldn't speak the specifics of the case, but we knew that was going to happen anyway. But here's what they could say. So the Public Guardian and Trustee's office says it makes reasonable efforts to identify family and its records are updated, but it's not mandated to search for family.
All right, and what does the long-term care home say?
The long-term care home says if it becomes aware of incorrect information, it asks the resident or whoever is in charge of the resident's care decisions to provide updated information.
That's the Public Guardian Trustee's office, right?
Right. So they both seem to be saying that they followed process while kind of pointing fingers at each other. So what are you looking for in terms of a place for your mother?
I'd rather have her close by so I can actually go visit her like I didn't when she was here, right? So I think it'll bring me some peace and hopefully some relief from the guilt that I feel over it. So I hope it helps.
There's a relief, too, in sharing her story, in hopes the same thing doesn't happen to others.
Look, there's a deer right there, a whole bunch of them right there. Like, that's just beautiful. I think she'd enjoy it here. I think she'd be at peace.